If you could see someone you have lost one more time, what would you tell them? Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today we are looking at another Japanese novel with, I'm going to have to read this one, The God of Nishi-Yuigahama Station. I hope I pronounced that right. This is a story about a train that on one fateful day crashes and kills most of its passengers. It crashes against a shrine, and as time goes on, rumours start circulating about a ghost train that you can enter and talk with the passengers who have perished. Thus leads us to a quadrology of stories. A woman who lost her fiancé, a son who lost his father, a boy who lost his first crush, and the wife of the train driver. And this is a very well written title. This talks about, as you would expect, death and what people would do if they had that opportunity to talk with their loved ones before they died. Well, after they've died, after they've moved into a ghost-like state. And it's beautiful for it. It's not going to be for everyone's tastes. If you want your generic battle isekai, probably not a recommendation. If you want your very bare minimum slice of life title that talks about high school drama, well, you're going to have some of that in here. Like I said, each story is a little bit different in a different perspective. Like I said, we've got a young woman who, well, she talks about her past and how she never really fit in at school. And how this young man, a lover of dogs, befriended her and they fell in love before he was taken away from her. The story that hit the most was the second one, about a young man who loses his father. The young man always looked down on his father's job while also struggling in his own life. He goes to Tokyo, he studies hard and goes into this corporate ladder, but finds out that he's not quite cut for that. All the while his dad continues to ring him and ask him to come home or just to visit, you know what I mean. It is what you would expect. The third one is about a young boy who loses his childhood crush, and it's a little bit weird. It starts getting a little bit stalkerish, where he's kind of following her around and kind of like trying to muster up the courage to talk to her over like a few months before, of course, she's snatched away. The last one ties everything up. This is about the wife of the conductor, the train driver, who, well, is blamed for the accident. It turns out that he wasn't to blame, but the media doesn't reflect that, and she gets a ton of abuse. Sick of life, with nothing to live for, she boards the train. Now, this is overarching with a short little story about a ghost who lives on the platform, a ghost of a young girl who died a few years ago, and a lot of the stories are interwoven. You have characters who appear in for the first chapter, appears in, for example, chapter 3, imparting sagely advice, and it all wraps up as each of these characters are brought together under one tragedy. Now, like I said, this isn't going to be your title that's going to appeal to everybody. It really isn't. But it is 100% worth checking out. And like I said, I mean, this is like 160, 170 pages. I read it in essentially 2 days. And that says it all. It takes me more often than often about a week to read a light novel. I couldn't put this one down. I really had to read it. And it's worth it. It is 100% worth your time. I can't really put pictures of it because obviously there's no imagery in here. And of course the source matter doesn't really relate to much else on the market. But if you want a series about death and coping with death of loved ones, and I'm going to be honest, It made me cry, and not many novels, light novels, really do that. So a series or a book that can actually make me feel things is always going to be one I'm going to recommend. So don't delay, check this one out if you want a well written story about life and, more importantly, death and moving on from the passing of a loved one. But that's just my opinion. If you like this, give me a like, consider subscribing to the channel. There's plenty more light novel content out there, including this one. A little bit more light-hearted than Ghost Trains, but still worth checking out.